All right, hey guys, it's a little late in the morning. I think it's like after 9:30, I think. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit of a late start. I actually slept kind of late this morning. And I wanted to come on and I wanted to talk a little bit about being very, very careful that we don't just constantly seek information that validates our own belief system and what we think is true. And we are all guilty of this to some degree. There is no doubt about it, okay? But I try to be very mindful that I see the other sides of the story. Now, because of this channel and because of just what I do in general, I'm always looking stuff up to present people with a background, a backing, some kind of solid foundation for what I'm saying so that it can make a little more sense to people. I don't push it on people. People can, choose to believe whatever they want to believe. They can think whatever they want to think. I'm just presenting information. And of course, when I have a concept or something that I'm sharing, I am always, not always, but mostly confronted with the opposite of that narrative, because that's what the mainstream, information highway gives you, right? It's like you get the mainstream narrative. So I usually have to go through layers and layers and layers of that before I can actually get to something that is really substantial, something that really challenges that, something that shows you a deeper perspective, something that makes more sense, okay? Because I've talked about this in many of my videos. I need it to make sense. I need somebody to make it make sense to me. And most things that we're told just don't make sense. Now, there are some things going on this planet that don't make sense, not to a human, okay? Not to a human, it doesn't make sense. From a human perspective, and that's when you have to kind of consider some alternative narratives about who and what is actually on this planet. Are we alone? We know there's animals, we know there's trees, we know there's other life forms, but when it comes to being human, are we alone? That's the question, right? And I've talked about my perspective in other videos and what I fully believe. So I won't get into it in this video. I don't believe that we are alone. And I do believe that there are some very interesting narratives that seem to be true that are happening on this planet with the rise of the AI and the digital cage and the digital slavery and the tyranny and the control and the manipulation and the deception. I don't believe those are human qualities. And I've talked about this in several of my videos. I do not believe those are human qualities. I believe they are something else. And I believe that something else is part of this reality, unfortunately, and humans have been sucked into that. Okay, so that's what I believe. But I just want to remind you guys that it's really easy to have confirmation bias. And again, we all do it to some degree, but I always try to prove myself wrong, because believe me, I'd love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong about a lot of things that I think and a lot of things that I know and a lot of things that I believe. I would love to be wrong. I would absolutely love it. So I do try to prove myself wrong pretty frequently, but I'm really kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say over it, but I'm not really, I'm not really moving in that direction a whole lot lately because it's a waste of time. I'm just completely convinced at this point that the mainstream narrative is always one of two things. It's either a lie or it's a partial truth that they are twisting to manipulate, deceive. So it, may not be the whole thing is a lie, okay? But that's just how they operate. And I want to talk about it from more of a personal level. So I was on a thread, not a thread, but a channel comment section, and they were talking about co-sleeping. And I just made a few comments based by studies, based on studies, based on, real information, both in the lab and in the real world. I just presented information. And it was just a statement. I didn't provide any links. I didn't provide any scientific data. I didn't provide any of that. It was just a statement. And somebody who was trying to defend her position just left a comment. And I responded kindly, just more information, and wanted me to show her the research and wanted me to show her the studies and wanted me to, whatever. And I said, it is not my job to educate you. I just gave you the seed. I just planted the seed. It's up to you to go put that into AI or go put that into whatever and pull the studies up yourself and look at the studies. Like what is this, kindergarten? Because choose a full-ass grown-up adult, okay? There's a mother, all right? And I don't believe it was a bot because it seemed like a genuinely human response, okay? An absolute human response. Usually with the bots, those tend to be a little more deeply, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, I can't think of the word, but sometimes with bots, they just throw out this stuff. This seemed like a genuine concern because she backed it up with her own experience and that kind of thing. And I wasn't trying to belittle anything. I was just trying to show the information that's out there. This is what the studies show. I'm sorry. This is it. And it's been repeated dozens and dozens of times by different researchers. There's no money involved from formula companies or, the mainstream establishment or anything like that. It's who's doing the studies and blah, blah, blah. So then she basically was telling me that was just my opinion. So I ended up having to leave her excerpts from the study conclusion. Do you even know how to research? Because she said she researched. She didn't come across any of this, but yet there's dozens of studies, dozens of them. And I told her even where to find the studies. I told her she could find them on PubMed. I told her what to whatever. But this is how stubborn people are when they are so committed to their belief system, because it's just too painful to admit that we are wrong. And it's too painful to admit that we made some bad choices, perhaps, when it comes to either us or our children. Heaven forbid it be our children, because that parent guilt is horrible. It's horrible. We are so rigid. We are so rigid. And, when somebody is arguing about physiology that they actually can prove with MRIs and shit, it's you don't want to know the truth. You didn't even look this up. They defend their position by saying, well, I did research and then, whatever. But it's this is undeniable. This is undeniable. The physiological changes that happen to a woman's body and her brain and her nervous system when she is breastfeeding versus a woman who is not breastfeeding. It is undeniable. And the baby's brain, breastfed, formula fed, undeniably different. And this is so important when it comes to the mother's ability to wake up faster, respond to the baby faster. But this is neurological, it is physiological, and it is radically different than the formula fed baby's mom. And also the formula fed baby has a very different sleep pattern, has a very different neurological pattern, a very different physiological pattern and response system operating in their body as well. And this is why it makes co-sleeping for moms who are not breastfeeding so dangerous. And this was just what the post was about. It wasn't about like telling anybody not to co-sleep with their baby or whatever, because I slept with both my babies, all right? We did the family bed. I did it for 18 years. I had a kid in my bed for 18 years. Yes, we did the family bed. We did extended family bed, actually, because that's the kind of mother I am. But there are risks to co-sleeping, okay? There's risks to everything in life. There's risks, you know, every time you put your kid in a car, you're risking your baby's life. I mean, let's face it, you just are, okay? And leaving your baby in a crib, you're risking, you know, your baby there as well. A lot of things, you know, can happen to a baby in their crib. And also the lack of the close physical connection to the mom interferes with development of the baby in many, many, many ways. So it's a huge, big deal. It's a huge, big deal. And all mammals sleep with their babies, by the way. All mammals do, okay? And some could argue it's because they live in the wild and don't have safe spaces or houses or whatever. But that's actually not why. It's physiological. There's a lot of physiological things that are happening when mom is sleeping with her baby, okay? The cues, the syncing up. So a formula-fed mom's body is not syncing with her baby the same way that a breastfed mom is. It's not to say that a breastfed mom is a better mother. And this is where I think people get really twisted. Not saying you're not a good mother. And it has nothing to do with that. And it doesn't mean you're not in tune with your baby's physical cues. But it's that deep physiological syncing that is not taking place. It is absolutely not taking place. It's just not. And again, it's not, you know, it's not a judgment. It's if you knew this and if you could have made a different choice, you probably would have if you truly love your baby and are bonded to your baby. But wow, and this is what makes me realize again and again and again that people have zero, really zero ability to navigate this world. People are so stuck in their own ways, and they have been so brainwashed and manipulated by whatever it is that they are aligned with, that they're just not willing to see outside of it. And of course, we went back and forth for a couple of comments, and then several. And then I haven't heard from her since the last comment, because I just laid it out. You know, who knows? And again, it wasn't for her. I didn't do it for her. I did it for the people that will be reading the comment. And this is why, like, my daughter was laughing because she heard me talking into the text thing, and she's like, what are you doing that for? And I said, well, because it's general information. I said, it's not really her. I don't hate to say this because I do care about people, but once people show me that side of them, I'm like, I don't really care about her. But I care about the other moms that might be reading this post and this comment section. I don't want them to be left hanging. I want to provide the information that somebody is going to read through that post and go, oh, I should really look into this. I should really go further with this. That was just all I wanted to do, because you guys know that's what I do on my channel. I'm not here to try to convince anybody of anything. But go the distance. Just go the distance. As far as you can go. And a lot of people do not know how to ask the right questions. They don't know how to poke. They don't know how to probe. They don't know how to get to the root, so that you're like, okay, at this time, this is the information that is available. And that's all we can do, right? We don't have access to information that isn't available right now, research that nobody's done. But how do you find it all? Because if you think just a simple search is going to give it to you, you'd be mistaken. You're going to be getting a very limited amount of information, okay? takes a while to really search for the stuff that starts to really shed light on things. Because, it doesn't serve the agenda. And unfortunately, this woman was getting, I don't know where her information was coming from, because it's not supported by the mainstream, but it's not supported by kind of the breastfeeding community stuff either when it comes to the brain and co-sleeping and things like that. I don't know where she got her information from. They have no idea, because it's not supported at all by either camp. So I don't know, it's very, very interesting. Basically trying to deny the science, deny the MRIs, deny the physical changes that are happening inside the brain. She could not make the connection to how that would affect co-sleeping. She had no clue. And that was genuinely when I felt sorry for her, because I just felt sorry for her at that point. Wow, you actually can't make the connection that when a mom's brain is working radically differently than a formula-fed baby's mom, you can't connect that to co-sleeping, because her brain and physiology are radically different at night than someone who isn't. How that could affect the co-sleeping arrangement, okay. And then I have to remember that this is a lot of people. It's a lot of people. They just don't have the ability to think critically. It's very sad. It's very, very, very sad. So anyway, I'm going to be signing up for now.